What is up, guys? Welcome back to another quick episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. Tonight, it's Tuesday evening, November 28th. We're going to go over the fantasy points allowed charts over on the fantasyfellowship.com. You guys can check them out for yourself. I did put a link in the description. I'll probably also post a link in the comments, but we're going to hop right into a screen share here. And basically, I'm just going to go over the quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends in fantasy points allowed and maybe identify some matchups that we should be looking for in week 13. It's a very crucial week. Of course, everyone's kind of rushing to get into the playoffs right now. Hopefully you're on track for a bye. Otherwise, we're going to help you try and get a playoff seed in your playoffs. But again, fantasy points allowed. It's on the fantasyfellowship.com. You guys can hover over the content tab and click it there. The first thing that you see on the chart list is total PPR points allowed, and this kind of just identifies which teams are allowing the most points. So it adds quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends. You can see here the Chargers, they rank 32nd here, allowing the most fantasy points per game. So it's unfortunate we can't really take advantage of the matchup here with New England, but I will say Rhamondre Stevenson starting to look better. He's kind of coming around and getting more volume and looking pretty good with his touches. So I do like Rhamondre Stevenson in this matchup here. Maybe Demario Douglas if he is healthy and good to go with his concussion protocol. But otherwise, the Commanders here coming in at number 31. Yeah, you want to take advantage of that one with Miami. But you guys can check out the total points allowed for yourself. I'm going to scroll on down here to the quarterback positions, and let's identify the best matchups for quarterbacks in week 13. And here you go. The Washington Commanders ranked 32nd. They're versus the Miami Dolphins. It's in Washington, but I don't think that's that big a deal. We'll monitor the weather later in the week. But man, they're giving 22.35 points per game to the quarterback position. You got to take advantage of this. You're starting Tua, you're starting Tyreek, you're starting Waddle, and yeah, sure, Mostert as well is included in that. But this is all about Tua. It's a good week for Tua. The Eagles here at 31 surprisingly give up a lot of quarterback points. They're going to get Brock Purdy. I like Brock Purdy a lot. 21.67 points to the quarterback here by Philadelphia. It's in Philly. It's been rainy there the last couple of weeks, so I don't think that's too much of a concern. I like the matchup for Brock Purdy. It should be a fun, exciting NFC showdown here. The Chargers going up against the New England Patriots can't really take advantage of that. But otherwise, Tampa Bay Buccaneers giving up a lot of quarterback points to 19.83 points per game. Bryce Young, we can't really trust him. Maybe in super flex leagues if you're desperate there. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they're getting Cincinnati. Can't really take advantage of that with Jake Browning. But maybe Browning's a super flex play. The Detroit Lions at New Orleans. I kind of want to play some New Orleans guys here, but again, the receivers are dinged up. Chris Olave in concussion protocol. Rashid Shaheed with a thigh injury. No Michael Thomas. I don't know if Derek Carr is a great play in this one. And then again, Atlanta Falcons here, they're going to get the Jets. I don't think we can recommend Tim Boyle here. So we're kind of striking out a lot at the top here with the quarterback, the good plays here. The Falcons, again, getting Tim Boyle. Not sure I love playing Tim Boyle here. The Cardinals do allow a good amount of quarterback points here, and they get Kenny Pickett. So maybe Kenny Pickett's a streamer. If you have Josh Allen or somebody on bye, I suppose Kenny Pickett in that offense is starting to look a little bit more exciting. It's in Pittsburgh. Not a bad matchup here for Kenny Pickett to maybe throw 2 touchdowns. The Broncos ranked 24th here at Houston. You're playing CJ Stroud in that passing game. And the Texans here themselves ranked 23rd. I think you want to play Russell Wilson in that passing game. As we scroll on down here, the Rams can't really take advantage of that. We don't know if it's going to be Dorian Thompson-Robinson or PJ Walker. And here's the Bengals. So you kind of want to play Trevor Lawrence this week and get some of those guys in here. And then we get to the 20s. This is all just kind of middle ground here. Let's scroll on down to the bottom here. And these are the toughest matchups. The Ravens, number 1 against QB, allowing under 12 points per game. They're on bye. The 49ers, though, might give Jalen Hurts some struggles here. They have not allowed a single rushing touchdown all year. Maybe that changes. But either way, it's tough to pass on the 49ers. They are missing their star safety, Hufanga, for IR right now. I don't know if we're going to see him anytime this year. But it's a tough matchup for Jalen Hurts. I still think you're playing Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and maybe Dallas Goedert. The Cleveland Browns coming in at number 3. Tough matchup for Matt Stafford after throwing 4 touchdowns last weekend. I don't expect that to happen again. Maybe 2 touchdowns is where his sweet spot is. But again, it's low. It's a low floor of 12 to 13 points. He's basically just a super flex QB2. The Panthers here coming in at number 4. It's a tough matchup for Baker Mayfield. I still think Baker Mayfield, again, with the bye weeks, maybe you need to play Baker Mayfield, but I think he's more of a super flex option. The Cowboys pretty good against the quarterback. I don't think we're starting Geno Smith unless it's a super flex league. You got the Jets here. Probably not going to trust Desmond Ridder out there. The Steelers are pretty good against QB. I don't know if that's going to stop you from playing Kyler Murray, who does have the rushing upside with his legs. It's a tough matchup. It's on the road. Maybe it's not Kyler Murray's ceiling week here. And then the Kansas City Chiefs at number 8. A little bit tough matchup here for Jordan Love, who's been playing really well. I'm going to give him the 14 points, and we'll see if Jordan Love can get a second touchdown in this game. And then the New England Patriots here at number 9. Tough matchup for Justin Herbert and the Chargers. They really only have Eckler and Keenan Allen right now. So I still think you're starting Herbert, but again, we have to give a little bit of attention here to the good matchup, to the tough matchup, and it's in New England as well. So there's your quarterback matchups. You guys can check out the charts for yourself. Moving on to the running backs. Who's got the easiest running back matchup this week? The Broncos still allowing the most fantasy points to the position here. So Devin Singletary, I think at this point he's a PPR play. We're not trusting Dameon Pierce yet. I'm wondering if his workload increases, but for now, I think Singletary is a low-end RB2 flex play. The Cardinals they rank 31st here. They're allowing almost 29 points per game in PPR formats. So yeah, you're playing Najee Harris and you're playing Jaylen Warren. This offense had a little bit of sign of life. They didn't score a lot of real points, but they put up a lot of fantasy points and yards. So I like both Steelers backs. The Carolina Panthers ranking 30th here. You're going to start Rachaad White. It's a good matchup for him. They've allowed 3 receiving touchdowns, by the way, as well as 16 rushing touchdowns. So maybe Rachaad White finds the end zone in this week. The Seahawks ranking 29th. You got to play Tony Pollard. I'm not saying to play Rico Dowdle, but again, Rico Dowdle should be picked up in all formats right now as the handcuff to Tony P. The New York Jets, we think of them as a really good defense, but they allow running back points here. They rank 28th. You're playing Bijan Robinson. Probably not going to trust Algier, but I will note that he is looking pretty good right now as a bench stash. Raiders are on bye. The Colts here, ranking 26. It's a good matchup for Derrick Henry in a game where we saw him score 2 touchdowns last week. They were able to control the clock here. It doesn't sound like Jonathan Taylor is going to be on the other side in this one here. So maybe Derrick Henry has a good game here, 24.83 points per game to the running back by the Colts. Again, it's a good matchup for Ramondre Stevenson against the Chargers. Giants and Bears are on bye. It's a good matchup for Isaiah Pacheco. Bills are on bye. And there's Raheem Mostert with a good matchup against the Commanders. Let's go on down to the bottom here and see who has the tough matchups this week. San Francisco, man, going to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the best team against the running back. You're still playing CMC. That one's pretty easy. We don't have to sweat that one out. I think with the Falcons being so good against the running back here, you're still going to play Breece. Just temper your expectations. Hopefully he can get there with his receiving volume. The Lions coming in at number 3. You're still going to play Alvin Kamara, but who knows? Maybe Kamara pops off in this one just because the Saints are so hurt at the receiving position. The Cowboys here coming in at number 4. It's a tough spot for Zach Charbonnet. This offense for Seattle did not inspire us last week against San Francisco on Thanksgiving. Maybe a low-end RB2 flex play for Charbonnet if you need it. Here's the Dolphins coming in at number 5. You still want to play Brian Robinson. He's been playing pretty good and making some big plays. He has a high floor, so I'm open to playing B-Rob. Maybe even Antonio Gibson, just because if this game's high scoring, that should lead to more third down and passing work for Gibson. The Chargers or the Rams coming in at number 6. It's a tough matchup for Jerome Ford. I don't think we're starting Kareem Hunt anymore, but I think just with the quarterback woes here for Cleveland, they're going to continue to give the ball to Ford. Tampa Bay coming in at number 7. Don't know if we're trusting the Carolina backs right now. Chuba played great last week. He's a low-end RB2 flex play, but not Sanders. And then here's the 49ers. It's a tough matchup for DeAndre Swift. I still think you're playing Swift, but again, temper expectations in this one. And then you have the New Orleans Saints going up against the twosome running back duo in Detroit. You're still playing Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, but I will note only 18 points per game here to the position. So it's a tough matchup for the Lions backs. Hopefully they can come through and get some points for you guys. But let's move on to the wide receiver spot. The teams with the best matchup this weekend. Eagles are allowing the most wide receiver points, so you're playing Brandon Ayuk, you're playing Deebo Samuel, and again, that's attached to Brock Purdy. We love the matchup here for San Francisco passing. The Commanders coming in at number 31. Again, we love Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. The Panthers have a chance to make some noise this weekend against Tampa Bay. They're really bad against QB and wide receiver. Maybe Bryce Young is a super flex QB too. Maybe Thielen and Mingo get involved. It's looking good for their matchup this week. The Chargers coming in at number 29. Again, against the Patriots, maybe Demario Douglas if he plays. That's pretty much it. If no Douglas, maybe Devontae Parker. With the Titans ranking 28th here, you're playing Pittman, you're playing Josh Downs. Again, with no Jonathan Taylor, we might see Minshew have to put a little bit more on his plate. Giants are on bye. The Lions are pretty leaky here. They rank 26, but again, there's no wide receivers for us to take advantage of here. I will mention A.T. Perry should be picked up in deeper leagues. Here are the Patriots ranking 25th. You're going to play Keenan Allen, and that's probably the end of the list from the Chargers. The Dolphins are kind of leaky towards wide receivers too. So I do like Terry McLaurin. I think at this point you want to try and find a way to get Curtis Samuel in your lineup and maybe Jahan Dotson. The 49ers, again, we mentioned their star safety is out on IR right now. So you're playing A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. And I will note that it sounds like Dallas Goedert's going to try and play in this one. So we'll see what happens there. The Jags, ranking 22nd. You're still going to play Jamar Chase. I don't know what's going on with T. Higgins, but we'll monitor that. But those are your top-end matchups at receiver. The bottom-end matchups at receiver. The Browns, number 1 against receiver. I don't know what to do with Cooper Kupp. I don't know what to do with Puka Nacua. It was pretty bad last week. 4 Matthew Stafford touchdowns, and somehow Kupp and Nacua both under 7 fantasy points in PPR. So pretty frustrating. It might be another frustrating day at home, though, against the Browns. We'll see. I still think those guys are high floor wide receiver 3s, but it's a very tough matchup. The Jets coming in at number 2. Tough matchup for Drake London. If you guys have questions on Drake London, I think he's more of a wide receiver 3 flex. The Cowboys at number 3. I think you still want to play DK Metcalf. He's been getting a ton of targets the last 4 or 5 games. Lockett, more of a flex play. I think JSN's probably not in our lineups this weekend, but DK for sure. Lockett, more of a flex. The Panthers coming in at number 4 is interesting with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You're playing these guys here. Mike Evans has been pretty strong all year, but Godwin's a little bit more on the flex range. The Saints, pretty good against wide receiver, but you're still starting Amon-Ra St. Brown. Probably going to leave the other guys on the bench. Broncos at number 6. I still want to play Tank Dell. I think I still want to play Nico Collins. I'd rather play Dell over Collins if I need to. The Ravens are on bye, and then I think you still got to continue to start Garrett Wilson if you have him, and still start I think Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, and maybe Romeo Doubs are fun starts here. Both Packers and Chiefs. It's a fun game here in Green Bay. Both pretty good against wide receivers, but those are your top, or I guess your bottom wide receiver matchups. We'll finish up with tight end here. The Broncos and the Texans play each other, and they're both dead last in allowing tight end points. Unfortunately, the Broncos don't have a tight end for us to use unless you want to, gamble with Adam Troutman, who had a nice touchdown catch last weekend. The Texans, it's interesting. Dalton Schultz was not on the field in the fourth quarter when the game mattered on the line. It was Brevin Jordan. So I don't know if it's a good recommendation to play Dalton Schultz this week. I'm watching for this Brevin Jordan situation. But either way, it's hard to ignore the 32 ranked Broncos against tight end, allowing 16.75 points. I do think Dalton Schultz is worth a flex, a tight end start there. The Bengals, pretty bad against tight end. You're playing Evan Ingram. The Falcons, pretty bad against tight end. I think you can maybe play Tyler Conklin just with Tim Boyle and the dump offs. It could be fruitful for a high floor, 7 to 10 PPR points. The Chargers, pretty bad against tight end. I think if you wanted to play Hunter Henry, it's a gamble. Maybe. The Rams are pretty bad against tight end. And I think David Njoku's been a top 5 tight end for the last 5 or 6 games. So play Njoku for sure. Tampa Bay's really bad against the tight end, but we can't play a Carolina tight end at all. The Eagles ranking 25th here. You're playing George Kittle. Bears are on bye. The Dolphins rank 23rd. So maybe Logan Thomas is here for a spot start. And then the Lions here rank 22nd. I do like Taysom Hill, but I want to mention Juwan Johnson. Just with Olave injured, Thomas IR, and Shaheed probably out for a week or two. Juwan Johnson might be a sneaky play in this one here. And then I'll shout out Sam Laporta going against the 21st ranked Saints. Moving on down to the tough tight end matchups here. The Cleveland Browns, number 1 against tight end. They allow under 6 points per game to the tight end, by the way, in PPR. So I don't like Tyler Higbee, even though he caught 2 touchdowns last weekend. The Titans coming in at number 2. We don't really trust the Colts tight end. Patriots are very good against tight end. If you want to roll the dice on Gerald Everett, I think it's okay. The Chiefs are very good against tight end, so maybe not so much Tucker Kraft this weekend, although I do think Kraft can be added to your bench, and maybe we'll see what happens going forward. The Panthers pretty good against tight end. I think Cade Otton's an interesting streamer. He's been pretty good the last month and a half, but I don't know if we want to play him in our lineups. 49ers ranked 7th here. And again, I mentioned Dallas Goedert could be back this weekend. I don't know if we're going to want him in our lineups on his first game back, but I'm open to it. It was a wrist injury, so his conditioning should be fine. I would expect him to get his healthy snaps. Bills and Ravens are both on bye. And then you have the Cardinals ranking 10th here. It's a tough matchup for Pat Freiermuth, but man, oh man, you got to play Pat Freiermuth if you got him. The dude went off. And then same thing here. The Steelers ranking 11th. They get Trey McBride, but I think I'm going to play Trey McBride if I have him. So we'll go with that. But good evening to Justin. I'm going to get out of here, my man. I just wanted to do a quick live stream. We're going to be going live at 7 p.m. Central Time again for the Waiver Wire show. But yeah, I'm interested in Bryce Young, the new head coach. coming in. The offense might get kind of dumbed down and simplified a little bit, and just basically feed these receivers here. You got Adam Thielen, Jonathan Mingo. I want to see some movement through the air here, because we did find that the Buccaneers are pretty bad against the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. And if you guys like the charts, go all the way to the bottom and you guys can see the heat mapped charts. This is a little bit more fun to look at, because you can see which teams you want to play positions against here. So green, you want to play this position against that team. Red, you want to avoid that position here, and it kind of just helps filter it. And yeah, I think honestly, it's tough to name a player on the defensive side of the ball for the Cardinals. Budda Baker comes to mind, but otherwise they're kind of a struggle team right now. But use the charts, guys. We'll be getting into more things later tonight in the show. 7 p.m. Central Time, we'll go live. That's what we usually do on Tuesdays. And, of course, Wednesday night, we'll be going live. We're back in our normal schedule, so we're past Thanksgiving weekend. I'm here for you guys the rest of the week. But, hey, Justin, have a good rest of your evening if I don't see you. Good luck with your waiver claims. And, yeah, guys, have a good rest of your day, evening, whatever you need. Peace.